I believe Rick Perry also we can add to the list of candidates on the Republican side who are not going to be the nominees. A lot of people disagree with me on this. They say Perry is still one of the legitimate candidates. He doesn't debate well, fine, and the fact that he keeps admitting that can't be good for him, but he's still a legitimate candidate. And because of all the stuff that's been going on recently with Herman Cain and sexual harassment and related topics, Perry's 20% flat tax proposal isn't getting the scrutiny that it deserves on two fronts. Front number one is this, Lewis. It would be terrible for the economy. It's just fundamentally a lot of people don't seem to get. You do a 20% flat tax. Not only is it incredibly regressive, the effect on the economy is devastating. Why? If everybody pays a flat 20% tax, what happens? Where is the money redistributed? Very, very rich people all of a sudden pay less taxes. You're with me, Lewis. Mm-hmm. What do they do with that money? Do they spend it on food and recycling it into the economy? No, they don't need it. They already have all the money they need for their bare essentials. Some of them maybe go out and buy an expensive car or a yacht, but for the most part, that money is saved or invested in Wall Street, which is, as we know all the problems there. So there, we lose money from this multiplier effect by recycling it into the economy. You're with me there, Lewis?
I'm with you.
What happens at the other side? Well, poor people need every dollar that they have for bare necessities, basic necessities, food, shelter, etc. Those people are going to have an increased tax liability. That's money that's coming right out of the economy. That's not going to small businesses. It's money that would be spent. You can be sure of it because these people are low-income people. Mm-hmm. You're taking money out of the economy, significant amounts. One rich guy buying a yacht is not going to do what the huge number of poor people that would be affected are going to do with that money. No question about it.
Right.
Now, if we go to part two of why this makes absolutely no sense, Rick Perry initially also said, and he may have backtracked on this by now, that it's an optional program. You can choose to do your taxes under the system now, or you can do it under his new system. Well, if the whole point of the new system is to reduce government by shrinking the IRS, by being able to fill out your taxes on a postcard, if it's optional, you can't do that because you still have the old system in place. You still need to be able to process the regular taxes.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think he plans for it to be some type of interim system.
He certainly didn't mention it. You've kind of got to think of these things first.
Well, he's not mentioning much. I think a lot of the reason there isn't much media coverage of this is because it's kind of a complicated issue, right? And when you just scrutinized it there, I mean, who in the millions of people watching their nightly news program is going to really want to listen and focus in on that? And I think he banks on that. I mean, what he's saying is something that sounds relatively simple, and he's pitching it that way so that millions of non-thinkers will say, oh, you know what? That's great. I'm going to save some money.
Yeah, well, it's the obvious that we're familiar with this, and the top vlog audience is obviously familiar with the fact that simple ideas are perceived as good.
It's, of course, a separate issue, but...
Completely separate issue. So on both fronts, it doesn't make sense. If you're going to do this to shrink the bureaucracy, you can't make it optional because then you need to maintain all that bureaucracy, plus train people at the IRS to handle the new 20% flat tax proposals, or if it's not going to be people, put a system in place that's ready to handle the 20% flat tax. It makes no sense. It's bogus. I believe Rick Perry is not going to be the nominee. I'm not as sure of it as I am that Herman Cain is not going to be the nominee, but we will see.
He still certainly is more likable, I think, and looks a bit more presidential.